Hoardganize Podcast. I am your host, professional organizer, Rachel Seavey, and it's time to get organized. Hey, collectors. On this episode, we're talking about 3 tips on maintaining organization. This is once you've cleared an area or just simply areas or things in our lives that come in, the constant incoming, that you must maintain regularly if you want to live an organized lifestyle. And especially if you don't want to backslide or have your mess come back again, there are some things that just have to be maintained. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So let's start with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is you've got to understand that maintenance is the key to organization. I'll repeat that. Maintenance is the key to organization. What do I mean by this? Maintenance. It's a step that actually comes after decluttering and after organizing. Maintaining your home is something that you do while you're decluttering. So it's not something that's kind of an either or, like, well, right now I'm just going to declutter so I don't have to maintain. You actually have to maintain your home while you're decluttering. You can't do one without the other and not expect things to pile up. So while you're decluttering your home, you really have to also work on the main areas of your home to keep them clean at the same time. And people don't think about that. You know, when I work in people's homes, we leave, after leaving them with this just, organized home with labels, and they've gone through everything and they know where everything is. And they close the door. They thank us for changing their lives. They close the door, and they honestly don't think they have to lift another finger. So I really want to kind of get you geared up and ready that once you're organized, you actually have to maintain it. Weeks, months, years, or even decades of not cleaning your home and not organizing and not doing your dishes, for instance, and then you become organized, it's really kind of overwhelming, from what I've heard to people, to kind of understand just how much time it takes to do your dishes, to take out your trash, to maintain the space that you've just cleared. So let's just think, if you haven't done dishes for a long time and then you do them all, you're never really done with a task, right? Because you've got another set of dishes coming in. So it's kind of like a never-ending chores. These are never-ending chores that I really want you to be prepared about. I had a listener write me last week, and he said, well, how do I maintain my space once I'm organized? So this is a trend. This is something that a lot of the times people don't think about. They think so much about the decluttering and the letting things go and where's the perfect place to put things. And that's fun. And it's a really important part, obviously, decluttering and organizing. But you can't live an organized lifestyle if you're not maintaining your space. So I hope that makes sense. Tip number 1 is maintenance is the key to organization. Now, tip number 2, and this is part of maintenance, obviously, because that's the subject. So once you've actually cleared an area or a room or a surface or even a square inch, once you've allowed a little bit of space to be maintained, or made, rather, you've actually got to maintain that integrity. I mean, even if you're not done with an entire room, or an entire area, or even an entire shelf, the space that you do clear going forward is going to be honored. So you want to get used to maintaining as you go. That way it's not a huge surprise for you when you realize just how much stuff there is to maintain daily or weekly or monthly in your home. Think of a 3-drawer dresser. And I'll use this as an example. You first might just clear off a corner of the dresser. And so going forward, just that corner, just that, little area that you've cleared, you're going to commit to keep that corner clear or keep that corner organized and clean. And so let's just say the next time you work, you clear off the rest of the top of the dresser. So now going forward, you have to keep the entire top of your dresser clear, clutter free, organized. And then, the next time you do the top drawer, I hope you know where I'm going with this. You organize it, you clear it out, you put the stuff in there that you want in there. So now going forward, you're going to have the top of your dresser to maintain, and you're going to have that top drawer. And it just goes on and on depending on how large of a space that you actually clear or that you actually organize and clean. So once that space doesn't have a bunch of clutter on top of it, I really want you to work on going forward, keeping it clear, safe. It doesn't have to be minimalistic. It doesn't have to be completely empty. I know that's not your style. You just want, once you've worked on an area, to keep it nice and tidy going forward. That way you kind of build momentum. Like when somebody works out, you don't just work out for a day and then all of a sudden you've got a six pack and some really strong arms. You want to keep working out and working out and working out. And, think of it. I mean, I know a lot of you get discouraged when the dishes keep piling up. So think about working out. You can't just work out once and become an athlete or an Olympic gymnast. You've got to continue working at it every day, every week, every month until you hit that goal. And these people, they don't give up. They don't say, hey, I've been working out for 3 weeks and I still don't look great, so I'm just going to stop. No, they say, I know in the future, if I continue to work out, I will look great. So I want you to kind of think of decluttering as working out, like you're building your muscles. You're getting used to becoming organized because it's something that you're going to have to truly maintain for the rest of your life, not just for a day, not until the end of the year. You're going to have to maintain your space for the rest of your life. And I know this might sound basic to some people, but a lot of people that I've met have not really considered this. And then, so let me tell you real quick before I get to tip number 3, I was working with a lady. We were working with her as a team for quite a bit of time. Just so you know, it wasn't an overnight success kind of a thing, but we finally got her into a really good place. And a couple of years later, I'm working with her now again. A couple of years later, she calls and she says, you guys did such a great job. I was the one that made all the decisions. I knew where everything was when you left, but I didn't realize just how much work it was to maintain my space once it was clean. She had spent decades of not doing laundry and decades of not putting things away after herself. So when we left, it looked amazing, until things started piling up again. And she just she didn't have that strength. She hadn't built that muscle herself. And so she was kind of weak at organizing, still using the metaphor of working out. And so right now we're just working on the maintenance, just accepting that, hey, dishes are going to pile up if you don't do them. So this is where I get into tip number 3. Tip number 3 is scheduling in your chores. And I know I've covered this before, but not just decluttering and not just organizing, but once you're organized, you actually have to, and before you get organized too, if you're not used to doing these things, start scheduling in your regular chores. Now, to me, regular chores are things like laundry, dishes, mail is a constant. It's always coming in. There's no way to kind of stop that. And even when you go paperless, there are things that you have to process, paperless paperwork. I don't know what you want to call it, but you've got, vacuuming or things like that. So you want to schedule in your chores, and you want to schedule it in your iPhone, or your paper calendar or whatever you're using, and just get into the habit of understanding that you have to maintain these things or your house will be cluttered. So it's going to be just like putting a doctor's appointment in. It's just how I tell you to schedule your decluttering in. You really should also be scheduling in your regular chores and getting used to that workout of getting up and picking up after yourself. And, a lot of people don't put things right away after. Maybe they're rushing off to go to work. Maybe they've got kids at home. Maybe, maybe they would much rather binge watch on Netflix. There are things that are going to get in the way. So if you have it on your calendar, it's pretty hard. I mean, you have to hit snooze, so don't do that. But if you have it popping up at you, or if you check a paper calendar every day, then you'll say, oh yeah, it's today I'm going to work on my laundry. And it doesn't, like I said, I'm not a perfectionist. I don't want you guys to be a perfectionist, but just think about, even if you don't do it and you hit snooze, just think about doing your laundry, because that's you have to become an organized person, and you have those organized thoughts. You have to know that around the corner there's another laundry pile for the rest of your life. So I hope that makes sense. If you don't open up your mail, it actually continues to pile up. If you don't do your dishes, they will pile up. They will smell. They will attract fruit flies. If you don't take out your trash, then, your home becomes a landfill. So I really want you to understand that it's up to you to maintain these things that are constantly coming in. You're never just organized and done. I'm never just organized and done. I personally have mail, laundry, dishes, pet messes. For those of us that have pets, I mean, you think you're having a great day and then you step in something wet, right? So it's all about maintaining that space, actually stopping what you're doing and cleaning the carpet. You really have to do these things in order for your house to be clean. And it sounds really basic, but I really want you to just absorb that you're going to constantly, for the rest of your life, be working on your house. It's not just one and done. And it's something that's a lifelong thing that you have to do. So I just want you to know that maintenance is the key to staying organized, to being organized. You can't just have a whole crew of people come over and organize your house, close the door, and think that you never have to do anything after yourself, because then you're just setting yourself up for failure. And I know people feel bad if you've hired somebody and you've invested money in a company helping you get organized, and then you can't maintain it, or you're not prepared, or your schedule is too busy. I mean, that's really upsetting. That's a deterrent. That's, I failed. Then people feel shameful again. So I don't want you to get down in the dumps. I want, even before you get organized, for you all to know that for the rest of your life, you're going to have to maintain it, or you're going to be back in the same place again. So I want you to now, take out your calendar, take out your smartphone, and just set some time this week. It's Sunday night, so set some time this week for decluttering. I want you to, put some time in, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, decluttering and basic chores. I really want you to start getting used to that workout, to start building your muscles on becoming organized, because it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen in a year. It's your whole entire life. You have to change your habits, and you really have to stay on top of your stuff, or a mess will happen. So take some time now. I'll keep talking a little bit, but even before you schedule it in. So let's stop for a moment, because what I ask my clients to do first before they schedule things in, so I don't want to leave you guys out either, is I ask them, how long do you think that chore will take you? And 9 out of 10 people are totally underestimate the time that it takes. They're like, oh, I could do all my laundry tonight, then I'll mop tomorrow, and then by the time you're here, all my paperwork will be done. And I'm like, really? How long do you think it takes to do laundry? So you really want to, even before you schedule it in, maybe write, a short list of your basic chores. Let's just say dishes, laundry, and important mail, not even, reading magazines or junk mail that comes in. So just make a little list right now on how long you think each item is going to take you to do. Then take some time to schedule it in on what you're think, on how long you think, not the actual facts, how long you think it's going to take you to get these chores done. And then once you get them done, I always tell my clients, just send me a quick text or an email. And if you've worked with me, you know I am. I'm pretty tech savvy. Just send me a quick text and let me know how long did it actually take you to do laundry. And, using that as an example, most people haven't even done a load by the time they see me again because they're just not used to scheduling it in and then actually making it happen. So I really want to give you all the benefits of the things that people get when they're working with me. So take some time, even after the show. You don't have to do it right now, but just write a list of your basic chores and how long you think it's going to take you. And then actually schedule them in and then reflect back. How long did it take you? Were you able to do all of your laundry, your paperwork, and mop the floors? Or did you not do any of it because you were just too overwhelmed and didn't know where to start? So you want to be really realistic. I want you to be really realistic with your personal situation. I don't want you to guesstimate. I want you to actually, when you're doing the chore, take a timer and see how long it actually takes so that you're fully aware, so that you actually know, so that you're not surprised and you don't get overwhelmed and discouraged and think you're a failure and you feel ashamed. I hear this a lot. Rachel, I've tried to get organized and it just keeps piling up again. And it's a really good excuse to feel rotten about yourself and not get anything done and still have a messy house that just, this stuff, it just keeps piling up again. And so I don't want you to use it as an excuse. I don't want you to feel like a failure because your dishes piled up again. I mean, you have not failed because your laundry is piled up again. And you simply are not succeeding because you gave up too soon. You haven't really realized that these are things that are always going to pile up. It's not because you failed. It's because you wore a lot of clothing that week and it has now piled up. So don't use it as an excuse. I want you to be really real with yourself. I know it's hard. It's easy to just say, oh my gosh, this stuff is piled up. I give up. I'm a failure. And then feel ashamed and suffer. I want you to say, oh my gosh, this stuff is piling up. I need to handle it. Not all of it, but as much as I can when I can do it. I think a lot of the times people I work with get so overwhelmed that they're failing that they either don't ever really get too far or they just stop. And it's like, hello, the whole entire world has laundry and dishes coming in. It's not you. You're not a failure. Your dishes are piling up because you've cooked for the last 7 days while we're in this, shelter in place or whatever the quarantine is. I mean, a lot of us are cooking a lot. A lot of us are eating at home a lot more. So there's a lot more trash at home because we're not eating out as much, and there's a lot more dishes at home. And it doesn't mean you failed. It just means that's life. And you've got to start understanding that you've got to do the dishes and the laundry and the paperwork and put your groceries away if you want to be an organized person. It doesn't just pile up. Everybody has laundry and dishes. It's really just about maintaining it so you don't get overwhelmed and you don't quit. Now, I really hope this was helpful. Like I said, I've worked with clients that are just shocked at how much there is to do after I've left their perfectly organized home. I had a listener call in and he wanted to know how to maintain his space. And so tip number 1 is just understanding, just knowing, oh my gosh, I'm going to have the rest of my life that I have to maintain this stuff. It doesn't just disappear, or there's not a magic genie that comes in, cleans it up. I'm actually going to have to put it away myself. I'm actually going to have to clean up after myself. And since I'm not used to it, I'm going to have to schedule it in. So tip number 1 is just the understanding. Tip number 2 is as you clear a small place so that you get used to it and you build those muscles, you're going to want to maintain those spaces as you go so that you have that kind of familiarity with chores and maintaining your space. And my dog's here. Tip number 3 is scheduling it in. It's so important to schedule this stuff in. If you're not used to doing it, even if you hit snooze, at least it comes up and you go, oh yeah, I've got to do my laundry today. Even if you don't do all of your laundry, at least you get used to the idea. That's what I want you to understand. It's just the idea that maintaining your space is going to be the key to organization. So I'm really excited about the podcast. I don't know if you've been following me on Facebook or Instagram, but I have my new podcast logo, which I'm really excited about. If you haven't seen it yet, you can follow me on Instagram under Collector Care 1 or Facebook under Collector Care. It's super cool. I've also invested some time, money, and energy in a class on making my podcast super cool and a lot more polished. So I'm really excited about the future of the podcast. You guys have been so supportive. It's the 4th year that I've been doing this podcast, and I'm just so happy that, I have more listeners and more followers and people watching. It really gets me excited. And what did you think about Bill? Oh my gosh, wasn't Bill great? I got such an overwhelming response about Bill. People called in, emailed. I had some clients that I work with that listen to the podcast, and I got some mixed responses. But my takeaway was that a lot of you really related to him, and there were a lot of things that you felt you had in common with Bill. And I had clients that couldn't even watch it, that it made them cry, that it was too close to home. And then I had another listener that she said she listened to it twice because Bill just reminded her so much of herself, and I think it was helpful for us to all see the obstacles that Bill has with getting the clutter out of his home and out of his storage unit or his basement that he's renting out from his friends. So I think it's going to be really interesting to follow him on his journey of decluttering. And I'm also excited to let you know that I have some other people that were interested in coaching on the podcast. So that'll be really exciting too. So 2021 will be our year, collectors. And another thing I was thinking about with Bill is he talked about body doubling, which is going to be next week's episode because it's something I have not covered, and I think it's really important. And body doubling is basically just having somebody there, not even a paid professional, but just having somebody there with you, even on the phone. Bill's doing it on the phone. I don't even think he's on Zoom. I'm not sure. But with his clutter buddy, Kate, and they are just supporting each other. He's going through one thing, she's going through another thing, but they're on the phone together. And that seemed like something that was really interesting to some people that I talked to that heard the episode, and they wanted to know where they could meet people and become a body double or a clutter buddy. And so I started thinking that maybe the Hoardganize podcast should have its own Facebook group so that people could connect. I don't want to interfere too much. It's nothing I want to get involved with, but maybe people could connect and work with each other. So I wanted to run that past you guys and see if you thought I should make some time to create a Facebook group for you guys and see if you all around the world could support each other independently of the podcast. So let me know what you think of that. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and comment in the comment section. Of course, hit the thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed. And if you're listening to this on an audio device, which I know a lot of you aren't watching this on YouTube, you're actually listening on an audio device, then send me an email and let me know what you think about Bill's episode and what you think about me creating a Facebook group so that you all can support each other, because I think it would be helpful, but I don't know what you think. So you could send me an email at Rachel, Rachel, at collectorcare.com and just let me know. Until next time, collectors, and remember, happiness is a place between too little and too much.